This week, the Black Hills of South Dakota, Custer State Park, Iron Mountain Road, Mount Rushmore, and so much more. This is RV Miles.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways, in campgrounds, and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth-wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit BlueOx.com for more information. Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, like breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today.
Welcome to episode number 370 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two RVers who, along with our three boys, have been crisscrossing all over North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to travel destinations, our national parks, and so much more.
We are apart this week. I don't know if we've ever recorded this way before. Maybe we've done it once or twice.
We've done a live like this before.
We've done a couple lives like this. We did one this year and we did one last year at this same time because I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia with our oldest son Jack, who's at a film camp that's about to wrap up. His final showing is tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday, so his final recording's on Friday, and then we're making the trek back home to Davenport, where Miss Abby is right now.
Where I am, and I'm not even in the studio. I am sitting at the breakfast bar in our home because going down to the studio just felt like too much work today.
I have the camera and the sound mixer and stuff, so you would just have a background there. That would be all it would be. So.
Yeah, it would just be so you all who watch could have the green wall behind you. That was it. But it's very weird. So this is over 2 weeks now that since Jason and I were in the same room together, and we have decided that we won't do this again. This is a really long time for us to be apart, not only personally, but then also professionally, and then a long time for our family to be apart from one another. And while it's been really great because Jack is doing his film school in Charlottesville, Ethan, who turned 15 on the 15th of this month, is about to open his show tomorrow, Friday, as well. He's doing Hadestown, the musical, with the local high school community theater here that he's a part of. And so it's a really busy time of year with summer camps, but it's also a really busy time of year for work as well. And for RV, there's a lot of RVers out there on the road right now. And this time of year is kind of busy around RV Miles. And it has been just a little bit of a challenge, maybe a fun one, but a little bit of a challenge for all of us to be scattered about 900 miles, I think is how far apart we are right now. 900.
Yeah. I remember last year it was the longest we had been apart, and so now we've done it twice. And no, last year you came and joined us. You came and joined us. Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and I was wondering, though, I think we've done a long stint like this before, but I think it was just you when you went to New York to open Churchill off Broadway. I think you were gone for about 2 weeks. So we've done this before. It's not unusual for us to have things that come up that keep us apart this long. It's just then my job was fully at home raising small people, because this was 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah, they weren't quite as easy back then, though.
Well, I didn't have to drive them as many places. I feel like I have spent an insane amount of time in the car over the last 2 weeks, because last week I had both Ethan and Henry in camp that started at 9 a.m. and ended at 4 p.m. for both of them. So that was a bit of a challenge, on top of the fact that their last day at camp was, uh, we knew it was coming here in the area, a super severe weather day. We knew that tornadoes were coming, that it was going to be a wild Friday night, which many of you have asked us about. And we'll get into that more when we do detour for mile markers. But try the logistics of trying to get them both and get us home before really like what unleashed just a couple miles from our house. So yeah, not only for the logistics of what was happening that day, but then also just, it was a 2.5 hours of pretty intense nonstop sirens. For my storm chasing loving self, it almost got to be too much.
Yeah.
When I couldn't sit out on the deck anymore, that's when it becomes a little too much.
But everything is okay. The house, our business, our family, and
You're
there's a lot of
fine.
flooding, people losing their homes and businesses downtown Davenport, but no loss of life or anything like that. So
No, I
um,
mean, nothing compared to what we've seen in
yeah.
Texas and in other
Well,
parts of the country.
that's what I wanted to talk about first here at the top of the show. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world. Uh, the Texas flooding, Damien and I talked about a decent amount last week, but now we've got the fires. So we've got this fire that has burned down tragically the North Rim Lodge at the Grand Canyon and many structures there. So the North Rim Lodge it's not a lodge that has hotel rooms in it. It's a lodge and cabin complex. So it's the lodge is like the dining and registration and the like the big atrium and all that sort of stuff. And then it's just a bunch of cabins. And most of those cabins have burned down. They're all over 100 years old, or nearing 100 years old. And the lodge itself is burnt down. Several other structures. People have asked me, so I've covered this pretty extensively over on the Parkography channel. And a lot of people have asked me about the campground. So far, the campground seems to be okay. The fire is still burning. It's still 0% contained. And every structure essentially on that North Rim side is threatened, but the campground and the general store that's within the campground are fine right now. It's mostly that sort of other section where the Grand Canyon lodges and stuff. There's a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of questions about how this was managed. There's already a lot of armchair quarterbacking, a lot of people mad for different reasons. This is going to be something that is going to, as a lot of these issues do, have people on different sides of the issue playing the blame game. And we're going to be hearing about this for a while, but I think it's important to shout out at least to the firefighters and the whatever officials were in charge of this whole situation, for completely having everybody evacuated and safe and no concerns even over injuries. There was no danger over injuries really, other than the firefighters working hard to solve this fire. Structures can be replaced. It's sad, it's historic, but structures can be replaced and lives cannot.
Exactly. So I think right now, let's give everybody a little bit of grace as they work to not only continue, because the fire is still burning. They're still working incredibly hard to do that. And then there's going to be an immense amount of cleanup that needs to happen once they get this contained. So for right now, the best thing we can do is just give people some grace and do our best to support them, with comments that we make online and how we discuss this so that they can just focus and get their job done.
But if you want to visit the Grand Canyon, if you're going to do what 90% of visitors do and just go to the South Rim and visit the South Rim, you can still do that. The South Rim side is all open. This place is huge. So the North Rim is across a big canyon from the South Rim. So you can still visit if that was part of your plans. Black Canyon of the Gunnison, I think people are going to be surprised at how that's going to be maybe even more of a radical difference there from what I'm hearing coming out of Black Canyon of the Gunnison. So there's another fire burning at Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, which is on the western slope of Colorado. We have some friends in the western slope where we're thinking of anybody that lives out there, a lot of our being friends that we know that have properties out on the western slope and near Montrose and Black Canyon. From what I hear, 85% of the the south rim of the Black Canyon where the visitor areas, all that sort of stuff is. The structures are fine. There's not that many structures, but it's completely transformed. It's all burned. It's, you
Oh,
know,
wow.
it's going to be um, quite the scarred landscape there for many years to come. That's nature. There's a lot of the questions come from the fact that people just can't understand why a fire like this would be allowed to burn, why we're not just putting out fires. And we don't need to get into all of that on this episode, but I don't think a lot of people understand how many wildfires, especially the ones, caused by lightning strikes, that are smaller,
Mm.
generally, because usually they're in the monsoon season. It is the monsoon season at the Grand Canyon right now. A lot of people are saying, how would they do this during fire season? The conditions are definitely right for fire, but this is the monsoon season. And there are so many fires in that area every single year. This fire was many miles from the lodge campus, 2 days before it made it there. They had an incident team on site, which is what they do. They bring in these incident teams to deal with the situation, and then it gets upgraded and another incident team comes in. But 2 days before the lodge burned, they had the incident team on site. The incident team includes a special meteorologist who is dealing with, you know, giving forecasting information to the firefighters and all that. And the forecast was wrong. I mean, and that can happen. It's not the forecaster's fault. The forecast it's not an exact science, right? It's especially when you're on the rim of a canyon. There's all the different air currents that play down into the canyon, and the wind shifted directions and was gusting to 40 miles an hour at night, which it rarely does, and sent it straight heading that way, and things changed rapidly.
I think in the coming weeks, you will probably do over on the Parkography podcast YouTube channel. You'll do one of your Q&A videos similar to what you do on RV Miles, where you take comments and you address them in a video. And I think one of the things that would be really interesting with this is maybe to see if we can pull some data to find out how many wildfires there were in the Grand Canyon last year, because I do think that people don't realize that there are a numerous amount of smaller fires that start that don't really particularly go anywhere but do what they're supposed to do for the landscape. And then you have what happens from time to time. They just get completely out of control in an instant, and then we start to see it makes national news, and then everybody begins to have an opinion on fire. So I
Yeah.
think that would be really interesting to discuss. And there was a lot of other things at play, and we could probably have a whole episode just on this, but obviously there were some other things at play with the chlorine that was released
Yeah.
into the air, the way that kept them from being able to do the retardant. And there's been a lot of questions about that, like what would that even have to do with anything? And so there's just a lot of science involved in all of this, and that's a reason why people go and study this for a living. And they devote their life to this, because it's not as simple as just throwing water on something and having it put out. There's just so much that goes into fighting a fire. And I think, it'll be interesting in the coming weeks when we do one of those videos over on the Parkography channel to kind of talk maybe a little bit about that, or even do an entire episode where maybe we could get somebody on the show.
Yeah. It's certainly possible and plausible that mistakes were made. I mean,
For
you know,
sure.
it is a tough call sometimes to make some of these decisions, and I'm sure there are things to learn from this incident, but I'm going to rule out even thinking about gross incompetence until there's any evidence of that being presented, which, there just hasn't been. These people are professionals, and maybe they made mistakes, but the idea that, it's just stupid people doing stupid things is just, it's a little bit absurd.
We're human, and humans make mistakes.
More in a moment, but first, if you're like us, you absolutely need internet on your travels. And the sponsor of today's video is a great internet solution for travelers. It's a cellular device that works on multiple carriers from a company called Travelfi. Travelfi allows remote workers or anyone on the move really reliable internet access that allows you to move around freely. You don't have to have a permanent location at all to set it up. It's a small, compact device with no contracts and no commitments. You just pay for the months you use, and it just works really well, really quickly, really easily. And if it isn't working for you, they have a US-based call center to help you troubleshoot. Travelfi allows you to stream, work, and play on the go, whether you need internet in your RV, your cabin, even your hotel room. You can get internet in so many different places thanks to their multi-carrier network, and you can browse and work in confidence and comfort. When you go to their website and use the code RVMiles15, you can get 15% off your device order. Again, no contracts, no commitments. You just pay for the months you're using it for. If you're not traveling in the winter, you don't have to pay for it in those months. There's a link in the description below, or you can go to travelfi.com. That's TRAVLFI.com. There's no E. TRAVLFI.com, or go to the link in the description and use code RVMiles15 for 15% off. This episode is sponsored by the folks at RV Life. The RV lifestyle is about community, and the RV community is at the heart of RV Life. RV Life recently celebrated the 1 millionth trip planned with RV Life Trip Wizard, their excellent trip planning tool for RVers, featuring all the trusted reviews, pictures, and tips from their RV Life campground site. RV Life also features several blog sites and over 20 additional RVing forums to serve the RV community. All this experience and community feedback come together to help create a fantastic RV trip planner and mobile navigation tool collectively called RV Life Pro. RV Life has marked a milestone of over 3 billion miles traveled using RV Life Pro, counting both the planned RV trips and ad hoc navigation within the included RV Safe mobile app. Take 25% off RV Life Pro at the link in the description for this episode. More in a moment, but first, this episode is sponsored by Hughes Autoformers, makers of the Power Watchdog Smart RV Surge Protector. If you're serious about protecting your RV's power system, electronics, and appliances, you've got to meet the Hughes Power Watchdog Gen 2. We've been using the Hughes Power Watchdog for our entire life as RVers, and the Gen 2 is such an awesome upgrade. Released last August, it's packed with features, both the trusted old ones and new, like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity, so you can monitor or cut power from your phone, whether you're sitting in your RV or miles away. And fault logging stores up to 10 faults with timestamps, so you'll always know what happened and when. The Hughes Power Watchdog shuts off if voltage goes too high or too low, or if there's a miswire, and it features a newly designed, rugged, weather-shielded clamshell body with padlock option and new side entry cord relief. As always, if big spikes come, Hughes uses a replaceable surge module instead of forcing you to buy a whole new unit. But wait, there's more. Coming soon are the brand new Watchdog Power Centers, set to debut in the 30 amp model late this month and the 50 amp version in July. They're not just surge protectors, they're an all-in-one power station that replaces the older gray box autoformers that actually boost the voltage when low voltage is detected, so you can continue to use that bad power. They'll have the same dual Wi-Fi, Bluetooth connectivity, and smart app features as the Watchdog, plus a built-in LCD screen to monitor voltage, amps, and energy right on the unit. Find out more at the link in the description or at HughesAutoformers.com. All right, on this episode, we wanted to talk about our experience in the Black Hills of South Dakota. This is one of our favorite areas. We've been here multiple times, and this was the tail end of our 8 weeks out on the road this spring. And this was Memorial Day weekend, so, kind of busy weekend, a lot going on. And we just really had one stop after this before making it home. So this was really kind of celebrating the end of it. And, there were parts of it where I think we arrived here where we were a little bit exhausted from all the traveling that we had done. And we were a little disappointed at what we knew we were coming into, which was some unfortunately not great weather.
So for being Memorial Day weekend, I do think that it was in a lot quieter than it probably would have been if the weather had been better. So this is talking Custer State Park, the town of Custer, Mount Rushmore, everything that we did, everything we experienced, we found crowds to be really quite manageable. And that is in part to what we've alluded to. We left Devil's Tower. We had beautiful weather while we were at Devil's Tower. We knew we were headed to Custer and that it was going to be rainy. And boy, was it rainy. It was rainy. It was gloomy. It was foggy. And in some respects, that fog is stunning in the area. I mean,
Yeah.
the Black Hills is so gorgeous. A lot of what we did here was really obscured by the weather. So it put a little damper, and I think it kind of, for us, really sort of enhanced how tired we all were after being on the road. At this point, we're now into 7 weeks of pretty intense RV travel. So I think we took it a little easy over this long
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend.
It was kind of a blessing in disguise, this weather, because it
Mhm.
just had us really hanging out at the campground a lot, which was nice because this was probably the best campground that we stayed at on the entire trip, I think.
Oh, it certainly was the most state park feeling private campground that I would say up there with some of the best in all the 8 years that we've been doing this particular site. I will
Yeah.
say too. Now, there were some that I don't think are going to give you quite the feel that we got, but boy, did we luck out at Big Pine Campground.
I don't want to oversell it, but because
No, no, no.
Big Pine Campground, it's like right outside of Custer. I mean, I think it's a Custer address. Custer is on the west side of the Black Hills of Custer State Park, and it's a gateway town to Custer State Park, which is, basically could be a national park. And if you're somebody that loves national parks, this is certainly something that should be on your bucket list. And there are, of course, there's several national park sites in the area. And this campground is just, for us, as what we like about campgrounds is really a place that's got just a really nice site with trees, with lots of room, is quiet. You can have a campfire, and there's space between the sites. There are no amenities here. There's no pool. There's nothing wild like that. But it has just great, nice campsites, really, really nice staff. Stopped by several times to ask how we were, to give us lots of tips and advice on things to do in the area. And it's just one of those sort of really pleasant state park feel type campgrounds, which we kind of wish more private campgrounds were like that.
Getting out of this campground is a little tough because it's just a one-way road. So as you come into your sites, the way that they're angled, in order to leave, you have to continue on that road. You have to go up and over and come back down. That could be a little bit of a turnoff. We did fine. We had the 43-foot fifth wheel. We did fine. We went up and over. There were lots of big rigs in the campground. Another thing, what I loved about our particular site is, as Jason alluded to, it was backed up against the woods. So our door opened into this huge space. The kids love stuff like that. That really draws our kids outside when they can open the door and they can have space to roam about and not be right up inside someone else's campground like we were at Devil's Tower. This was such a switch from the KOA that we had just been at. And it was so unfortunate that most of our time, we got such little bit of time to enjoy it because of all of the rain. But when we did get to enjoy it, we had hammocks out. We had a campfire. We were playing cards outside at the picnic table. So in reality, this is a $40 a night campground. Honestly,
In
it was
in pre-COVID days, yeah.
pre-COVID, back in the old days when we would trek through to RV parks in our covered wagons, trying not to get dysentery. 30 amp, full hookup, sewer, water. We paid Memorial Day weekend for all 5 of us. I think it almost was about $70 a night. So coming from what we were just at, KOA up there at Fishing Bridge and in West Yellowstone, $70 a night felt like a steal.
Yeah, I mean, this was probably the
In
cheapest
reality,
private campground we stayed at on this entire trip.
probably. Which is another reason why I was like, I'm going on strike. This was an
Yeah.
incredibly expensive trip. And yes, we were out for 8 weeks, but even if you just did this section, this trip of, Yellowstone to Devil's Tower to Custer to Badlands to back home, that's expensive. Like, it's just expensive. And so I still think that this is a great campground for, what we're all paying right now. I'll be curious maybe to check back in with them in a year or two and see if they've lowered their prices or if they have raised them. But if you're going to the area, of course, we always say Bluebell is kind of our preferred campground inside Custer State Park. That's one of their campgrounds inside the state park. If you cannot get into Bluebell, like we could not get into Bluebell, then I think that Big Pine is a great backup option.
Yeah, there are several campgrounds in Custer State Park, and they're all great. Custer is it's an incredible state park to stay in, but you got to be on top of getting those reservations. It's very hard to get
Yeah.
reservations there.
And the bigger you are, the less options you have. So that was another thing. So, being 43 feet, there are only so many sites inside the state park that we would fit in. So, and we knew that going into it. So Big Pine was great. And also it was nice to be that close to town.
Mhm.
Last time we were there, we were in the state park. So this time I feel like we got to spend a little bit more time in Custer, which is not really something that we have done. And plus the proximity to this, I want to mention this too. We didn't do this because of the weather and because all the tours were sold out, but you're really close to Jewel Cave at Big Pine. I think only 10 minutes from Jewel Cave National Monument. That's a park we have never been to, but just in that vicinity, you've got Custer, you've got Wind Cave, you've got Mount Rushmore, you've got Jewel. That area in itself, you can make a vacation out of easily and get a great national park experience.
There's just so much to do. It is important to know that this area, because it gets really cold here. I mean, the guy that runs the campground was telling me that he lives in somewhere in the south in the winter, and there were some super severe cold days this last winter that busted a lot of his pipes. So he's staying in the campground instead of his home
Yeah.
in Custer. And just suffice it to say, like, this is a higher elevation where it does get colder, and because of that, the season isn't very long. So like Abby mentioned earlier, this was really Memorial Day weekend is kind of the start of the season, and the last two times we've visited this area have been just a little bit out of the season. So last time we were in Custer, a lot of stuff in Custer was not open because it was fall. It was Halloween. It was nice, like you said, that we had this ability to visit so much more in Custer. And we'll get to some of the restaurants that we went to and stuff like that in a minute. But let's talk about Custer State Park. Because of the weather, we didn't get to do anywhere near what we would have liked to do in Custer. There's a whole lot of trails. There's a whole lot of wildlife viewing. There's three main scenic drives. There's the Wildlife Loop Road and the Needles Highway and Iron Mountain Road. And those were the three main things that we did. We didn't do the entire wildlife loop. We just did some of it, but we did do Needles Highway and Iron Mountain Road, they're up there in like two of the top 5 scenic drives in the country. They're just absolutely stunning must-dos above anything else.
So this is our third time to the area. The first time we were there, we were in a school bus. The second time we were there, we were in Ranger Gandalf, the Pioneer. And so it's been a minute since we've been there. And so for our family, when we were driving Needles and when we were driving Iron Mountain, there are so many memories attached, especially for the kids. And so it was so much fun to be able to stop with them so much older now. I mean, I think we were there. So it's been 5 years. So we only had one teenager the last time, newly minted teenager when we were there last. And so it was so much fun to drive these. I will say it feels a little bit more harrowing driving it in a long bed truck than it did when we drove it in a minivan.
Yeah, these these roads are not roads that you want to do in anything bigger than a full-size truck, really. Maybe a Class B camper van. You're not going to do these in like a Class C motorhome, anything like that.
You
You're
are
certainly not going to tow anything through these because there's tunnels. They're very small tunnels, and you can, at spots, roll down your windows and reach out and touch the rock walls of the tunnels, which we did.
no Cruise America is cruising through here. They definitely try, but please don't do that. We had friends who did it in a dually. So you could probably
Yeah.
squeeze through with the dually, but just know that you're going to have about this much space.
Inches, yeah.
Just like inches
Yeah.
between your wheels and the sidewalls. But Needles Highway is a beautiful drive. It's so gorgeous. And Iron Mountain has so many great pull-offs to get fantastic views of the Black Hills. You've got those like iconic views as you come through the tunnels of Mount Rushmore. There's plenty of places to stop and do picnic lunches. We did that both times. The last 2 times we were there, we didn't do it this time because of the weather. But I cannot stress enough, take food with you, make a day out of these drives. Make them a destination.
If you're coming across I-90 through the area and you're just like, you got your one day in the area and you have a list of things that you want to do, your main thing is probably seeing Mount Rushmore. I think going to Custer State Park, you take Iron Mountain Road. Iron Mountain Road is designed so that some of these tunnels frame Mount Rushmore perfectly, which it certainly didn't for us because it was so foggy. But generally, it frames. It's such a great introduction. Then you can visit Mount Rushmore, which doesn't take that long either. And then you could take Needles Highway back into Custer State Park and then make your way out. And that could be your visit if you only have one day. Of course, if you got more time, split that up and do one on one day and one on another like we did. So the first thing we did was Needles Highway. And at one end of Needles Highway is sort of like this central area of Custer State Park. It's not too far from the visitor center and stuff, which is a great visitor center that we didn't get to visit this time. But on the other end of Needles Highway is Sylvan Lake. There's a campground at Sylvan Lake. A lot of RVers like to stay at. But Sylvan Lake is this gorgeous mirror mountain lake with big rock formations around it. And that's kind of what you get out of Custer State Park. And this whole area is these big, really cool rock formations. So you and I went to Sylvan Lake on our own because it was so close to where we were staying that we could go there on our own. And we went and we did a hike. We did the hike around Sylvan Lake on our own and had a fantastic time.
Yeah, we got there nice and early in the morning because this was our first day. And we knew that by the afternoon, the storms were going to be coming in and that was going to be it. Teenagers did not want to get out of bed. And so we said, okay, enjoy your sleep. We're going to go do this really short hike. It's beautiful. If your kids love climbing around on big old rocks and all that hardcore parkour, they're going to love this hike. We saw some climbers while we were on the trail. There was a couple that was climbing one of the rock walls towards the back part of Sylvan Lake. It's really beautiful and it's worth it. It's not one of those, I know a lot of times you think, oh, it's just a trail loop around by a lodge. It's going to be nothing. That is not the case with this one. Lots of ups, lots of downs, some stairs. It is not ADA friendly on the back half. I do think that in fact, actually, I don't think any of it is, to be honest.
No, you could go. Yeah, you could probably go around like the first third of it on either side, though the left side was closed.
It's not paved. It's still pebble
it's
gravel.
still going to be dirt and gravel. There was, however, a visually impaired woman that was hiking on her own back there and was asking me, like, she said, I know there's stairs coming up here. Can you point them out to me? And I did, and that was cool to see somebody kind of doing that on their own. But there is some rock scrambles and some up and down stairs type stuff, but it does seem like it's going to be like one of those nature walks, like the
Yeah.
one trail in a lot of national parks that dogs can be on, like,
Yeah.
but it actually
Yeah.
it's not. It is a walk. It's not a big trail. This is like,
No.
a half a mile, but it was really pretty. And this was probably the busiest place we visited on the entire trip. And every time we've been to Sylvan Lake, it's been very busy.
Yeah. And this trail also picks up some backcountry trails. We
Yeah, they're
encountered
all
some people who are,
great.
yeah. So there are opportunities to add on to something a little bit longer if you want, but I think this was just a really nice get started with the day sort of hike and enjoy some of the park. So if you're like us and you're not staying in the park, you are going to need a park pass to get to places like Sylvan or Drive Needles or Iron Mountain. It's $25 for a week for a non-resident for 7 days. So that's something to consider as well. If you want to do those things, you're going to need a pass.
Yeah, it's only if you're only doing those sort of one day thing, it's $15. But
Yeah.
it's well worth it. Like we always say, this if South Dakota ever would let it out of their hands, this would certainly be a crown jewel national park.
You will
Um,
pry it from South Dakota's lifeless hands before they let this thing go.
we did go visit Mount Rushmore, which is, to be honest, it's not our favorite attraction in the area. It's neat to visit for lots of reasons, and there's more to do than just seeing it. A lot of people are disappointed by the size, and I actually think the size is not the issue, but it is cool to see, the history of the carving and all that sort of stuff. But we did make two attempts to visit Mount Rushmore. The first day, it was just completely fogged over, and we decided not to pull in, because you do have to pay for parking, even if you have an annual pass to national parks. You do have to pay for parking at Mount Rushmore. It's $10. But we eventually came back and watched the new park film, which we thought was a little cheesy, but and did the walk around the up to the trail. I think it's called the Presidential Trail. It takes you up to the base of Mount Rushmore. We did that, and they have upgraded that since last time we were there. They've done a whole lot of new walkways, and it's really nice and beautiful. And we essentially had it to ourselves and had kind of a really lovely day at well, after or early evening, I'd say, at Mount Rushmore. Like, I think we arrived at like 5 o'clock, and that's still plenty of time, right?
Yeah, the park is open till 10 because they do a nighttime ceremony during the summer between Memorial Day and Labor Day, I believe. And so the park is open till like 10 or 11 because they can't do that until it gets dark. Yeah, Mount Rushmore is fine. I mean, there's not a lot to say. We've been there several times. If you've not been, it's worth a stop. If you have been and there's other things you haven't done in that area, I would encourage you to take the time and do those things instead. Or maybe go over to Hot Springs, South Dakota. But to be honest, what we have talked about in the past when we were there 5 years ago and when we were there 7 years ago and how much we loved that area has clearly been really decimated by the pandemic.
Yeah. Hot Springs was a really cute little um gateway town at the south end of Wind Cave National Park. Wind Cave and Custer butt up against each other, so you can make a drive that goes through both. And Wind Cave is very much worth driving through, even if you're not doing a cave tour, which we didn't get reservations to do a cave tour, but we still drove through Wind Cave, and it was not the prettiest day, but it was still a pretty park. It's the first park we ever saw bison at. It was the first park we ever saw elk at. It's the first park we ever saw prairie dogs at, and without a lot of other people in the way of those things. So it's a really great park for some of that stuff. But at the base of it is Hot Springs, South Dakota, and we intended to go into Hot Springs and get some food. There's like no restaurants left. We were going to go to this site called Evans Plunge, which is an indoor sort of hot spring pool complex. It's like a gravel bottom floor with a warm pool. And we went there several years ago and had a fun time. It's kind of dated and corny, but we had a lot of fun. Well, this time we arrived with all of our stuff, and they weren't incredibly busy, but they would not allow us in. because they didn't have enough lifeguards on staff for the number of people that were there. So there was like a waiting list. You just had to sort of wait until people left to go in. And we decided after waiting a little bit that we were going to move on and do something else.
I think like so much in Hot Springs, unfortunately, since we were there 5 years ago, or actually, I think Evans Plunge was 7 years ago. We did
Yes.
that when our first trip. So
Yeah.
it's been 7 years since we've been there. I don't think it was open during when we were there in 2020. And we just sort of realized that this probably just wasn't a very good idea for our family. And we should just go ahead and try to find some food because they couldn't even really tell us how long it was going to be. And that's understandable. I appreciate, actually, I want to say thank you to them for not trying to shove all of us in there and not having enough lifeguard staff to make sure that they can do their job safely. And so I appreciate that they were putting us all on a waiting list in order to not overwhelm the pool and not overwhelm their staff. So, kudos to them for that. But it was like they had never in the life of anything in the whole history of Evans Plunge had to do that before. And they were so horribly confused as to what to do. And it felt really chaotic. And so we thought, well, look, we'll just give them 5 less people they have to worry about. Let's go get some
Yeah.
food. And then we couldn't
We
find
struggled
anywhere
to
to
find
eat.
food.
It was really heartbreaking because there's a great state park over there that we like, Angostura State Park. It's part of the South Dakota State Park system. We've been there twice. We've talked about that on past episodes. We love that state park. There was a great coffee shop in Hot Springs that we loved that we would go and work at. That's closed. It's gone. It was
Yeah.
really sad to see.
So we drove back into Custer and got some food into Custer, the town of Custer. So there's Custer State Park and then the town of Custer. And so I think now
Yeah.
is probably a good time to cover some of the different places that we ate at in the town of Custer. The first one, I guess we'll start with the morning. And the first one is
Good.
the coffee place that a lot of people go to in town. It's called Miner's Cup Coffee, and it's just a little coffee stand, but it's got some outdoor seating.
Yeah, we picked this up before we headed to Sylvan Lake. So they've got some great gluten-free options if you need to get something gluten-free like I do. So that was one of the reasons why we went there. Lots of breakfast sandwiches, some smoothies, good coffee, good drip coffee. I just like a good drip coffee. And so we really enjoyed that, pretty reasonably priced. We picked our food up to go. Of course, we went and had pizza. And we actually had some really good pizza
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
were in Custer. I was surprised by this. This was really, really good pizza. We went to, it's called the Pizza Mill. It's tiny. The inside's only got like maybe 4 tables. And then they've probably got like 4 or 5 outside on the deck. Thankfully, this was the day that we arrived that we did this. So we had like this kind of almost 24-hour period from the time we arrived to afternoon of the next day where we had really decent weather. So we were able to sit outside and have pizza. Everybody loved the pizza. They had one of the best gluten-free pizzas I have had in memory. The thing with a gluten-free pizza is when it's not like a nice, crisp crunch crust, it just feels like you're eating cardboard. And this was so good. I ate all of it. That's how good it was. I ate all of it. You had a beer there. They had some good local brews on
Yeah,
tap.
the place itself is somewhat unremarkable, but it is nice to sit outside. There are lots of places in the town of Custer where you can sit outside and sort of do a little people watching and car watching and stuff like that. This is a place where there's going to be, during some of the busy season, a lot of people driving through in fancy convertibles heading towards Needles and Iron Mountain Road, a lot of motorcycles and all that sort of stuff. So that can be
Yeah.
kind of fun to watch. And I enjoyed just sitting out there and doing some people watching, both at the pizza place and at the coffee place.
Breakfast, check. Pizza, check. Dessert, check. We stumbled on this place. It's called
We did okay,
purple.
okay. We
Well, we
didn't
didn't
st
stumble on it.
you
We
don't
did some.
stumble
We
on
did
this
just.
place, it stumbles on you. It's loud.
It is. You will not. It is called Purple Pie Place, and you cannot miss it. It's on the main strip. They have just wild pie, so much pie, so much ice cream. They also have a dining room where you can have lunch. We didn't eat there. You and I shared some pies. Now, this is not going to be a gluten-free place, so unfortunately, unless you just have ice cream. I mean, obviously, ice cream. You can have ice cream. But their main draw is the pie. And we had an apple pie, and then we did a strawberry rhubarb, I think.
I've got their menu up here. They've got rhubarb, peach, cherry, blueberry, blackberry, strawberry rhubarb, raspberry rhubarb, jalapeno, peanut butter, and their cream pie of the day. That's just their daily pie
Daily.
menu. And then they have like all the ice creams and sundaes and specialty drinks and all that sort of stuff, along with like their sort of nice little sort of tea room style sit down dinner area.
So the kids all had ice cream, and I take that back. We didn't do strawberry rhubarb because you don't like strawberry rhubarb. We did cherry and apple.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's
And I
what we
think
did.
Ethan did like an apple pie a la mode. And then the other two got sundaes, and nobody left unhappy. Highlight stop.
It's
Absolutely loved it.
the building is like two-tone purple stripes, like vertical stripes of like purple and lavender, right? Or
It's so
purple and pink.
obnoxious. It's great.
It is
Yeah.
really, really cool. It was very busy, I will say that. There was a
Yes.
decent line there, and there are, again, places to eat inside and outside, but it was actually so busy that all the outside stuff was kind of taken up, and we had to eat inside where it was a little loud, but it was really, really cool.
Yeah, and so finally, the last little bit of this trip, the last little food suggestion we have for you is we did eat in Keystone as well. So you can also head over to Keystone. There's lots of kitschy. Keystone to me is a lot like a Myrtle Beach or a Branson or a Pigeon Forge. It's got kind of like that energy about it a bit over there. So at Keystone, we ate at the Powder House Lodge and Restaurant. And this was totally fine food. Like there was
Yeah.
nothing extraordinary about it, but it satisfied everybody's need. It was in an old-timey powder lodge, which was cool. Our server was exceptional. He was so nice. We happened to be there on the first night that they were open for business for the season, and which we didn't know. So a lot of these, so here we are, Memorial Day weekend. A lot of these places are just opening up for the season. Our server had just flown back from Baja because that's where he goes when the wind, like he's such an RVer without an RVer, but that's where he goes during the winter. Is he gets the heck out of Custer, goes down, hangs out in Baja for the winter, and then comes back up for the season and is one of the servers at this restaurant. He was great.
This is sort of like it's a log cabin lodgy type feel. And in fact, it is a lodge. So it's a lodge and restaurant where people can stay. And Keystone and Hill City are both kind of like Custer, little gateway type communities, right? And they're closer to Mount Rushmore. So Keystone's really close to Mount Rushmore. So this is kind of a place that it would be a good place to eat at before or after visiting Mount Rushmore. And we were actually there on Memorial Day, on the day. And the reason I remember that is that one of the first things he said to us was that he can't serve us spirits because it's a holiday.
He couldn't, yeah, so we could have beer or wine,
Yeah.
but we could not have any hard liquor.
Yeah. Which we weren't like there for that anyway, but, but
But
that was
I'm
really
always like, I always want to ask about that rule. So what you're saying is that if I was to have a martini right now, like that's just going to set me on my face, and I'm going to become a nuisance to society here on this Memorial Day. Yet I can order as many glasses of wine as I want or an IPA with like an 8%, alcohol content, and we're all good. And there's no limit on to how many I can order. It makes, I'm sure there's a reason for it, or a very outdated reason for it. It makes no sense to me
Yeah,
whatsoever.
it's kind of like some of that, like, you can't sell cars on Sunday stuff.
Think
Okay.
he just, yeah, okay, I guess one of the only of 2 weekend days when most people are off work.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
don't
But
sell a car.
I've encountered some weird liquor laws about, days of the week, like some stores, they can't sell liquor after, 8 o'clock on Sunday or before 8 o'clock on Saturday or before 10 a.m. on Sunday. There's always stuff like that. But I've never heard of like a on holidays law.
I'm always like, "Fine, you don't wanna sell liquor before 10 AM. That's fine. That's I get it. That's
Yeah.
okay. I don't need to come in and get my bottle of tequila
Yeah.
at 7 AM. I'll show up at 10:01 and get it instead.
But it
That's
always
fine."
happens on
Yeah,
like a holiday weekend. It's like 4th of July weekend and you're having a big luncheon or something,
nice.
and you need to go get something for like the punch that you're gonna make. You're gonna go
I
get
love
some vodka and you can't get it.
I love of all the things that we have talked about on this show, this is the one that's getting us all riled up. Like,
It's just funny. It's just funny. But yeah, yes, the food was sort of it was good but unremarkable, but we had a nice
yeah.
experience. The interesting thing about this place is the reason it's called the Powderhorn Lodge is I guess this they used to store dynamite here when they were blowing up the tunnels and stuff for the Needles Highway and Iron Mountain Road.
And now look, it's a restaurant. It's just fabulous. So that's a little bit of what we did. This was, we're coming up at the end of our trip. The last kind of travel recap we're going to have on the podcast is going to be probably in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about the Badlands, and then that's it. Big RV miles, 37 RV miles, maiden voyage out there into the RV world. This is it. We're on our way home. We've got, kind of, I think our family at this point had like 1 foot in the trip and like 1 foot home. I think we've realized that we're not 8-week RV people. We've talked pretty extensively about that. We're not ready anymore for these long trips. It's too much.
No, but our visit to this area, even with the weather, this area combined with the Badlands and Minuteman and all that we'll talk about next
Hmm.
time, I will say I do think we all felt was some of the best days of the trip.
To come here to Custer, where we have so many wonderful memories with friends and with our family, and experiences that I think in some respects it was like the first time we were having big adventure with the bus when we were in Custer. That was big adventure in 2018. And I think it just felt a little bit like home, and it was nice to have things that felt familiar while we were there, because I think we were all craving some familiarity at that point. Yeah. It is time to check the level of our tanks, and this is sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the no BS toilet treatment. Find them at liquefiedrv.com or perhaps in a Walmart near you. Okay, Jay, what is in your black tank this week?
So the drive here from Davenport, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we're about 900 miles away. It was about 900 miles to get here. I did that in 3 days. I'm going to do it in 2 days on the way back. A lot of the drive was very nice and fine. So much of I-64 was just some of the worst roads I've ever driven on. Like it felt like the frost heaves in Alaska. It was so bad. And it was really, really frustrating, when you're pulling your rig and it's got, all your stuff in it. And of course, stuff flew around and all that. And it was fine, but it was really frustrating. But it got me thinking, you know, I wish there was a way that we could have a better idea how rough the roads are. And, I was thinking that, Google, everybody's using Google Maps. It's the most commonly used map software. And if you're not, you're using Apple. And your phones have all this data. Your phones have the accelerometer in it that can tell you. I mean, you can do crash tests with the phone. Your phones and your watches can call the police if you have a hard fall. Like they know that that something like that has happened because of the accelerometers that are in these things. So I was thinking, like, well, wouldn't it be great if Google took all this map data and overlaid how hard our phones are bouncing as we're driving down the road, from the thousands and hundreds and thousands and millions of users and miles driven, and was able to like rate stretches of road to tell you, hey, this is a rough road. You might not want to take it. Like, or you might want to consider an alternative route.
We wouldn't drive anywhere where we live if that were the case.
That's
I
fact.
mean, that is very having I mean, I didn't obviously I wasn't on I-64, but when I talked to you about it, I knew it was bad because you're generally very giving to a
Yeah.
road situation or to the rockin' and rollin' that happens with the rig. You were a very unhappy human
Yeah.
when I spoke to you when you arrived and you told me some of the things that you discovered on the inside, which also made me very sad and unhappy human to hear that, to no fault of our own, that our rig and
Well,
in
w-
our
we
truck
should
were
we
subjected
should
to
yeah,
such.
we should say that what happened in the rig, because this is something we've talked about a lot, is we use museum putty to hold a lot of stuff down,
And that
and
let us
that has
down.
always been fine. Like
Yeah.
but I think the combination of the bouncing and the heat, it was very hot, so I'm guessing the museum putty softened up a bit. A lot of stuff, a lot of stuff fell. Nothing is serious and heavy. We have like little decorations and lightweight plastic flower pots and things like that, and they just all kind of went
Which
everywhere.
I can see you have not returned. For those of us watching, I can see that you have not returned those items to their shelf behind you. And instead, you have put my lavender wreath there, which is not where that wreath lives. But that's fine. I'm not judging.
Yeah,
You do you and how you would like to decorate.
I just threw those things up 5 minutes before we started because I knew you were going to say something, and I was like, what goes up here? I don't
I
know.
I figured, I was like, oh, he's done some staging. He's done some staging in an
No.
attempt to make it look like he's actually
Do
did
do
anything
you
with
like
those
the apple
decorations.
there?
I love the apple in the basket. At first, I
The
thought it was a
singular apple.
lemon, but then I figured it was an apple.
It's so hard to, in some of those situations where you're coming up on a dip or something. Oh, and by the way, here's another black tank related. If you're gonna mark a dip on a highway and have warnings that a dip is coming up, and then a second dip comes after that dip, you need to mark the second one too. Because when we've gone over the dip and think it's over, and then pick our speed back up again, and then surprise, here's another dip. Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's really hard because you're not supposed to slam on your brakes when you hit a dip or a pothole or anything like that. That can cause you to blow a tire out. It can cause you to bend a rim. It can cause lots of things. You should, if you have not slowed down already,
You're
you
in
know,
it to win it.
yeah, you can
You
put some
just,
pressure on the brake, but don't slam on your brakes. It's just going to make things worse.
yeah, we should move to your fresh tank because this is stressing me out that you still have to try and figure out how to get home and
I'm
get
coming home
this
a
rig
different
home in
route.
one piece. Are you going to take, I thought that's what you would say.
Yeah.
You're going to take a different route. All right. What's in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh take is that the National Park Service has announced there's a new thermal spring that's opened up uh in Yellowstone at the Norris Geyser Basin. It's a little pool. It's like that super milky baby blue color, like a ice blue, and a few feet wide, not super big, but due to some small thermal activities, some little explosions here and there, there's a new spring feature, and I just thought it was really cool because we were just there, and just between the time we were there and now, there's a new thermal feature in one of our favorite little areas in Yellowstone, the Norris Geyser Basin.
Oh, that's really cool.
I thought that was interesting. All right, what is in your black tank this week?
I don't have one. I go away for 2 weeks and I can't
That's
come back.
not
I can't.
fair.
I don't have one. Sometimes you just don't have anything worth complaining about on a podcast. And I don't. I mean, obviously, I would say you and Jack being gone is a big black tank. At this point, we're all, I miss you. I'd like you to come home. I could get sappy and say I haven't had a hug from you in over 2 weeks. I'd like you to come home. That's a black tank. But other than that, look, Ethan's got a show opening up. We're all healthy. That the house didn't get blown away by a tornado. I'm not flooded. So I'm going to count my blessings this week and say I don't have one.
All right. What's your fresh tank?
So my fresh tank is a book I've been reading. As a lot of you know, I have anxiety. It's something I am always working to understand better, but also to have tools in my toolbox so that trips and travel and plane rides are things that trigger my anxiety. I know how to handle better and can continue to live a fruitful life. So I'm reading this book. It is called, I just finished it. It's called The Anatomy of Anxiety. It's by Dr. Ellen Vora. For anyone that has moments where they feel anxious, even if you don't consider yourself someone suffering from anxiety, I think this book is incredibly useful because it talks about what could be essentially the idea between a false anxiety, which is anxiety triggered by things in our environment that we do have control over, things that we can improve: inflammation, food, sleep, social media, all of those things that can trigger anxiety inside of us. And then it talks about true anxiety and the other flip coin of that for those of us that have true anxiety and how we need to break through the noise of the false anxiety to get to the true anxiety. She uses a lot of holistic functional medicine approaches as well, which I really gravitate towards. I like a combination of sort of what I call Eastern and Western medicine. I think this is a great book. It has transformed how determined I have become about you can tell I am living my best life in my 40s right now because I am like bedtime routine, bedtime routine, bedtime routine, bedtime routine. I've told my family now, like, look, I love you all. I'm gone. It's at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm starting it. 10:30, I'm reading a book. 11 o'clock, the lights are going out. I'm putting my phone down at a certain time every night. I'm learning to say when I'm done with work, I'm done with work. Yes, I put that reel out and I'm super anxious about it. And I'm wondering if it's going to have a lot of difficult comments or, we're back on the TikTok and you never know it's like the wild, wild west of social media over there. You just never know what's going to happen. But I'm learning that those things are anxiety triggering for me. And so I need to have time away from those. And this book has really given me sort of permission and empowered me to do that. And by extension, although I'm sure it's not been happening while he's away, but when Mr. Jason was at home, he too found himself adapting a bedtime routine because his wife was like, you need to put that phone down right now or I'm going to put it down for you. And then you can't have this in the bed. Like you cannot have this phone in the bed. You cannot. Why do you have headphones? Put those on. I don't, so if you're just looking for inspiration to kind of change a few things up in your life, I would recommend The Anatomy of Anxiety by Dr. Ellen Vora. I will put it in our RV Miles Amazon shop. I try to remember to put anything that we fresh tank over there so that if you want to go look for it, if it's sold, if we talk about anything on the show and they sell it on Amazon, I've been trying to put it in our shop and get that all caught up for people. So it's just amazon.com/shop/RV Miles. This book and other books I've talked about in the past are over there.
That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Boy, this was a really tough one to get through because it's so weird to do this with you, not in the same room. it's not necessarily like not in the same room in the studio. I just mean not in the same room or not at the same campground or like in the same space.
The slight delay makes it so much harder to not interrupt each other.
It's been so difficult. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us this week. We love having you guys here. RV Miles just celebrated 8 years. 8 years of the RV Miles podcast. That is bananas to Jason and I. But I think that just goes to show how much you, the community, have encouraged us through the years to keep this going and how you show up and you join us. And it is really a joy in Jason and I's life. So thank you for 8 wonderful years of this podcast. Until we see you next week, friends, please stay safe, stay healthy, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.